We have so many issues to cover this afternoon, but our time's limited, so I'm going to jump right into a hot-button issue. A candidate's position on the Second Amendment is extremely important to Outdoor Life readers. How do you interpret the Second Amendment? And if you're elected president, what steps will you take to protect our right to keep and bear firearms?
I will continue to fight back efforts to weaken the Second Amendment. One of the efforts, as you know, was we were able to stymie recently was the effort to bring frivolous lawsuits against gun manufacturers. If we had allowed that to happen, if we hadn't enacted legislation to stop it, they would have just sued the gun manufacturers out of business. We all know that.
Sure.
I was one of 55 senators that filed an amicus brief with the United States Supreme Court concerning the gun ban in Washington, D.C. I have been a consistent supporter of the Second Amendment. It means to me what it says. Every citizen has the right to keep and bear arms. I am a consistent supporter. I obviously support, as the NRA has, more efficient instant background checks,
sure,
efforts to keep weapons from the hands of people who are criminals, who have mental disabilities that we would not want weapons or guns to fall into their hands. And I believe the NRA has done a good job in increasing our capability to check on these individuals to keep the guns out of the hands of criminals.
Sure.
I'm proud of my long record, and I have a record, and it's very different from that of Senator Obama. I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. I joined with John and others in friend of the court statement in the case that's now before the United States Supreme Court on Washington, D.C.'s law, as you know. But I honestly, I'm not. Are you familiar with?
Charlie, I confess I obviously haven't listened to the briefs and looked at all the evidence. As a general principle, I believe that the Constitution confers an individual right to bear arms. But just because you have an individual right does not mean that the state or local government can't constrain the exercise of that right. And, you know, in the same way that we have a right to private property, but local governments can establish zoning ordinances that determine how you can use it. And I think that it is going to be important for us to reconcile what are two realities in this country. There's the reality of gun ownership and the tradition of gun ownership that's passed on from generation to generation. You know, when you listen to people who have hunted and they talk about the fact that they went hunting with their fathers or their mothers, then that is something that is deeply important to them and culturally they care about deeply. But you also have the reality of what's happening here in Philadelphia and what's happening in Chicago.
But do you still favor the registration of guns? Do you still favor the licensing of guns? And in 1996, your campaign issued a questionnaire, and your writing was on the questionnaire that said you favored a ban on handguns.
No, my writing wasn't on that particular questionnaire, Charlie. As I said, I have never favored all-out ban on handguns. What I think we can provide is common sense approaches to the issue of illegal guns that are ending up on the streets. We can make sure that criminals don't have guns in their hands. We can make certain that those who are mentally deranged are not getting hold of handguns. We can trace guns that have been used in crimes to unscrupulous gun dealers that may be selling to straw purchasers and dumping them on the streets. The point is that what we have to do is get beyond the politics of this issue and figure out what in fact is working.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you, Evansville. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Get out of here. My pleasure.